Looking at today, a lot of people are wondering, how did we actually see 4 tornadoes? Now, it's not that uncommon that we see tornadoes here, but in the middle of January, we normally don't see tornadoes across our area. What I did today was I archived the radar data on StormView 3D so we could take a look back at things and find out how this event actually evolved here. And that's what I'm going to focus on here in this video blog. Going to StormView 3D, you can see as we started things off around 10 a.m., we had a line of thunderstorms from New Pekin through around Leavenworth. Now, it's important to note, lines of thunderstorms traditionally just only produce damaging wind gusts. They normally don't produce tornadoes. However, as these storms approach the Louisville area, what you start to see is the storms starting to break down. We see a line of thunderstorms that's no longer. Now we see actually broken little areas from Lanesville, one north of Crandall, and one near the Palmyra area. And what's interesting is we continue to watch this as these storms approach Louisville. They break down into basically 3 distinct supercells. Each one of these produced a tornado. And now the reason we know these are supercells is because if you look on the back side of those thunderstorms, the west side, we see kind of little tails on there. And those tails were the areas that produced the tornadoes. Now, StormView 3D can actually look inside the thunderstorms at rotation. And what I want you to notice in this particular graphic is where the reds and the greens touch, because that indicates rotation. And you see a lot of these areas of rotation that started to develop. One that moved just north of Clarksville, one that moved basically over Clarksville, one that moved over the New Albany area, that would be this one right here, and then one that basically moved through downtown Louisville. So it looked like 3 to 4 individual supercells developed as these move towards the Louisville area. Now, this is odd, to be honest. Why did these storms break down right as they were moving down 64 towards the Louisville area? The reality here is it is very difficult to determine why exactly they did break down. But it's clear from the radar data that they broke down into supercells, and those are the types of storms that produce tornadoes. Now, as the storm continued to slide off to the east, what I'm going to show you here is what we call normalized rotation within the thunderstorm. StormView 3D has the ability to look at rotation within the thunderstorm. Now, I always say in a scenario like this, when we look at these normalized rotation areas, green light means tornado. Notice as this was moving across Zorn Avenue, and when I was chasing, this is the exact area that I was on the air this morning saying the storm had violent rising motion into it. That's when the storm really started to spin up. Once that storm just got off towards the east, just along 22, you can see that StormView 3D shows green light right along 22, and that's where the tornado touched down. This tornado touchdown was on the ground for around 4.5 miles, went along 22, basically between the Watterson and the Gene Snyder. Now, the latest on where we've seen the tornado touchdowns here, this is as of 8:45. EF1 tornado that moved through Floyd County, 95 to 100 mile an hour winds, was on the ground for about 1.2 miles. And then an EF0 tornado touched down northern Clark County that had 75 mile an hour winds, was on the ground for about 2 miles. The EF1 tornado that moved through Louisville basically went right along 22 between the Watterson and the Gene Snyder. So it was on the ground for 4.2 miles. Maximum winds on this one of around 95 miles per hour. And then an EF0 tornado touchdown hit the Madison Airport, had about 85 mile per hour winds. So you basically get to see what was kind of an unusual situation. We saw a line of thunderstorms that moved towards the Louisville area. Right as it got into the metro, it broke down into 3 to 4 individual supercells, and it appears that each of those did produce or could have produced some tornadoes. Now, the National Weather Service is going to continue to go out and basically do some surveys here in the coming days, but a very oddball January severe weather outbreak occurred across the area, and it occurred because the line broke down into individual supercells as it approached the Louisville area in an unusual, a very unusual January-like fashion. Hope this gives you a little better explanation on what caused this odd January severe weather outbreak.